welcome to my kitchen. Today I'm making some peanut brittle, and it's just about actually done. I know it's kind of confusing starting out at the end of the recipe instead of the beginning of the recipe, but today it's not going to be about sharing the recipe. I have some other things I want to share. So I just want to finish this up real quick for you. I just added my butter and some vanilla. Ooh, boy, does that smell good when that vanilla hits that heat. I'm going to get that butter all mixed up in there and melted. And I'm going to add my baking soda. And that gives a chemical reaction to peanut brittle. And you don't want to stir it too much. And out on the pan it's going to go. And you have to be very fast with this. You don't want to spread it around too much. As little as possible. And we're going to let that cool. My peanut brittle is cooled, and I'm just going to take my little mallet and I'm going to break it up. You can break it by hand into some manageable pieces. This is a favorite treat in the holidays, but you know, you can make this anytime. Ziploc bag, whatever you want. Might even try a piece and just make sure that it's okay. And we're going to get this packaged up and we're going to get it mailed off. Sometimes I don't want to cook, just like everybody else, and sometimes I have to be inspired to cook. And in recent months I've been inspired by some very courageous young men and women who are serving our country in the military overseas. So today it's not about sharing the recipe. Today it's about sending some home-baked items to some young men and women in the military stationed over in Iraq. And it doesn't matter what you send them, whether it's homemade or not. They are going to love it that you send it to them, that you take the time to send it to them. That is what is the most important thing, that you take the time and you care enough to send this to them. So we're going to go and spend some time with a group of ladies, a very wonderful group, support group of military moms, and they're going to show me how to package some of these items up, and we're going to talk with them a little bit about their children in the military. I'm going to be talking with a couple of the military moms. They're sitting here with me. I'd like to welcome you both. Thank you for joining me. To my left is Pam Arnison and Julie Polheber.
Yes.
And you are both members of Military Moms.
Correct.
Right. And Julie, are you the one who actually started the group?
Yes.
You are. How long has it been in existence?
About a year and a half.
Year and a half.
Yeah.
Okay.
Was our first meeting. And been thinking about it for a long time. I truly feel like God laid it on my heart. And actually, I've been thinking a lot lately how I feel very blessed that God knew in advance that all of this was going to happen and brought us all together.
And your son is stationed where?
He's in Afghanistan.
In Afghanistan. And he's been there how long?
He's been there since March.
Since March. So you started this group before your son ever went overseas?
Yes. Correct. Correct.
So it's not only for people who have their children overseas, they can be stationed here
Oh, definitely.
in the States.
We have several who are stationed in the States. We actually have a couple of new moms that are interested in the group whose sons are just starting boot camp. And they're nervous. We all went through it. Nervous about all of that change, and especially if you're not familiar with the military or had military in your family. So we're looking forward to, helping them and encouraging them and to get through boot camp.
Support them.
Correct.
Yeah. It's nice to have a good support group.
I agree.
Sometimes it's hard to not have anybody to turn to that doesn't understand the same thing that you're going through.
And that's exactly
Exactly.
what Pam has said many times.
Yeah.
And your son is in the Marines?
He's in the Marines,
Okay.
and he's stationed in Iraq
Okay, and how long has he been there?
since March.
Since March. So tell me a little bit about, what's your son's name?
Greg.
Greg. Tell me a little bit about Greg.
Well, Greg has, I guess the most recent news, or the most recent happening with Greg was that he was in an accident over there. He drives Humvee, and he was in a patrol with 4 other Humvees, and his Humvee was passing a car, and there was a car bomb. And so,
In your car, I just gave me goosebumps.
it was an awful feeling. We got a call the Saturday before Memorial Day at about 7 at night. Our other 2 children had just left the house, and I happened to walk by the office, and my husband was on the phone, and I heard him say, yes, sir, that's right. And I said, is it Greg? And he shook his head, yes. And at that point, they told us he was in critical condition with extensive head and chest injuries. And so we right away, the first person we called was our pastor, and then we called Greg's family and my family. And literally within, 10, 15 minutes, we had people at our house to support us. And 3 of those people that ended up coming, 3 couples, were military moms and their husbands. And that was just a great, great support that night. And so between our families, our church family, and military moms and dads that came, Greg, he had at least 50 of his school friends that showed up at our home. My daughter had made a call to a couple of his close friends, and before we knew it, we had kids in the driveway and invited them into the house, and I guess our basement was full of teenagers and all worried about their friend Greg. And so they were there to support us, to pray with us that night. And we had actually started sending people home because it was getting late. It was about 1 o'clock in the morning. And they had responsibilities for the next day at church and
Right.
such. And we just had a few family members left there that were going to spend the night with us and stay because we were told just to wait by the phone for
Right.
the next call. And at 2 o'clock, around 2, the phone rang
In the morning?
in the morning.
Okay.
And I was walking down the hall and I just froze. And I heard my husband say, Greg Allen, is it you? And so they said, quick, get Pam, we have to get her on the phone. And I ran to the phone and I said, Greg Allen, you're okay? He says, well, I'm alive. So needless to say, we had a conversation with him then, and I really believe that he's a miracle, because I don't think the military would have ever notified us that he was in critical condition if he wasn't in critical condition at some point. And we just feel extremely blessed, really blessed, because there were other people in that accident that were killed that night. And that's the other part of being a part of the military. The difficulty is you're relieved that your child is okay, but you have this tremendous feeling of guilt and grief for the other families who lose a Marine or a soldier or somebody in the military. And it just kind of tears at your heart. So since then, as a result of the accident, he did have hearing loss in one of his ears, and he was in the hospital for a week. And then he returned to his unit, and he actually returned back to work after about 4 days on light duty. He only has about 40% of his hearing back,
Right.
but he's a Humvee driver. And he was very happy to report that he got a brand new Humvee.
One that does have a mortar shell in it.
Well, it's more heavily armored. It's supposed to withstand a landmine. That's supposed to comfort me as a mom, I guess, but I'm not sure. And then he just expressed that, and then we got a call. Our last call was about a week ago, 2 weeks ago almost now, and he had been promoted to Lance Corporal. And I asked him if it had anything to do with the accident. He said, oh, no, Mom. He said it was just done meritoriously on his leadership. And
Well, he'll receive a Purple Heart, won't he?
yes,
Yeah.
yeah. When you're injured in the line of duty, the time of war, you receive a Purple Heart. So So I just feel extremely blessed because he's okay. And I just feel like God's had a covering over him because there's been a lot of other incidents where close calls.
And how old is he?
19.
He's 19.
He turned 19 in Iraq in March.
So, you know, it would be like less than a year that he just got out of high school, and he's doing, you know, and he was doing all those kid things, and all of a sudden he is thrown into this
He's a
adult
man.
world. Yeah, he's not a kid anymore.
He's not a kid
It's just,
anymore.
what does that make you feel like? Just
It's I think it's bittersweet. I think you know, I look at I finally got a picture of him in Iraq just today. It was taken around early April, and in that picture, my husband and I commented that he looks older already.
Mhm.
But just the responsibility that he's had to take, you know, and the things that he's had to do and see. And he would have been, I think he left for boot camp last year. It would have been July 7th. So it hasn't even been a full year that he's been in the military. And to have experienced all these things, it's just, he's going to come back a different person. He's not
how
gonna
is
be our-
he handling it?
He has a real positive outlook, which
Very positive.
which I'm really grateful for. During his boot camp training, and the girls laugh at this in military moms, because he would write letters, and I would read them to some, you know, friends, because to me they were encouraging. And he would say, yeah, we had to go on a 15-mile hump today, you know, hike. And he said, yeah, some of the guys were complaining, but he said, I kind of thought there was nice scenery, you know, I thought this was nice scenery at least. And he always kind of has a positive take on things, and even that night.
The glass is half full, not half empty.
Yep, and I asked him how he's taking it, dealing with things emotionally, and he said, well, he said, there's things that I've seen and done that I'll never forget. They'll always be part of my life, but he said, you know me, Mom. He said, I don't like to be sad, I don't like to be down. He said, I like to have fun and be happy, and he said, I think it's what I do with it that counts.
Right.
And
It doesn't sound like a kid, does it?
no.
I
He
think
sounds
that's
much
very grown up,
wiser beyond
yes.
his years.
Yeah, and we told him if he can hang on to that wisdom that he has, that will help him through. And my words of advice to him have been, take and use this in a positive way. Don't let this destroy you. But try to use this experience, as horrible as it's been, some parts of it, in a positive way to impact others. And I think he'll do that. I think he'll do that someday. And I think he already has impacted lives just by
I do too.
his attitude and the way he has handled things and his positive take on things. So, but it's a roller coaster ride.
I want to meet him when he comes back.
And I am really ready to get off the roller coaster and have him home. But you know, that's coming. Hopefully in September they'll be returning.
Oh, that's wonderful. Big party.
A big party.
Yeah.
Yeah, big celebration.
But on the same part, as much as you're on that roller coaster, I find that all the military moms are all very proud of their children.
Oh,
Absolutely.
extremely
Support
proud.
them.
Absolutely.
You know, you just, what better thing could you ask for your child to go and to support their country and to live a godly life? I just think
Yeah.
it's.
Tell me about your son. He's in Afghanistan.
Yes.
And tell me, what is his name?
Christopher.
Christopher.
Yeah. Christopher.
How old is he?
Christopher is actually 23.
23. He's a
Yeah.
little.
No,
He's
a
kind of
little
like
older.
an old man over there compared to some of the younger ones that's
true.
just out of
Mhm.
boot camp.
Yes, he has been in 4 years and then re-enlisted for another 4.
Wow.
So he had been in for a while
Mhm.
before we actually got the group started.
Mhm.
But Christopher's he's a fun-loving kid. I still call him a kid. But he's doing very well. We've talked to him a few times. He's told us that he's been in some battles, and there's things. What we're finding too is that some of we call them our kids.
Right.
But when they call home, some of them will say, I don't want to talk about certain things when
Mhm.
they get home. And so that's understandable. And Christopher has said that there are certain things that he doesn't want to talk about.
Mhm.
So we just have to deal with that.
Mhm.
We can't expect.
You might
him to-
someday.
Right.
You might.
Right. So, but anyway, he's doing well. Right now, he is sitting, we got an email from him, and we hadn't gotten an email in a long time. Usually it's just been phone calls. But he's had a spider bite, and it's ulcerated, so he can't wear his boots, it's on his foot. So anyway, he's sitting in medical.
Oh.
But he was really bumming. He says, my guys are out there working, and I'm sitting
What
here."
is his job?
He shoots a gun, 50 caliber,
So he's infantry?
He's infantry.
Infantry, okay.
yes. And so anyway, he said he's had some close calls. And
How often are you able to hear from your boys?
I hear from Greg, it's usually at least 2 weeks, two and a half
Every
weeks.
couple of weeks?
And then once in a while he'll write if he has time, but usually they're pretty busy and
Right.
pretty tired out.
So does he call, or do you hear from him by phone call or email normally?
I hear from him by phone.
By phone, you too?
yes, yes. Like I said, that email I got was very unusual, and that's because he's sitting in medical,
Okay,
and he had access to a computer.
right.
But normally they just.
I guess it depends on what their job is, what access they have to a phone or to email.
And there again, sometimes it depends on what branch they're in
Mhm.
and where they're at.
Right,
Right.
and even just what they're doing, you know, if they're fighting for days on end, then,
Mhm.
and they really, Christopher has said a lot of what Greg Allen has said, is that they're going on a little sleep. You know,
Yeah.
They get a few hours sleep a night, and that's about it.
Right. Well, tell me a little bit more about the military moms. I know you've marched in some parades.
Yes, we have. That was an experience, I think, for all of us. Truthfully, I was told when we marched in the Memorial Day Parade that they try to keep it very pure and very honorable, and I was very pleased to hear that for the veterans. And so when we were meeting, actually, we marched. It was the weekend that we found out about Greg Allen being hurt. So it was a very emotional time for all of us. So when we were getting ready to march, I told the moms and said, "This is, you know, we're excited to be here, but this is the mentality that we need to take. You know, this is a somber occasion, and we want to remember our veterans, and so not to be, you know, like you're in this huge parade and
Not like Mardi Gras. It's
happy-go-lucky.
not Mardi Gras.
Exactly. Yes.
Right.
But truthfully, I was a bit overwhelmed because as we're walking, we have our banner, we all had our matching t-shirts, and they say military moms. People were standing up and applauding, and we talked about this at our meeting, and I was a bit overwhelmed by it all, and I never thought about what how anyone else might perceive us, you know. And so I was very pleased, and we weren't looking for applause, we weren't looking for a lot of recognition.
Right.
But we were there to support our kids. So I was very pleased by the way the public received us. And so this 4th of July, we're planning on marching in the Milton Parade. And actually, we have a bit of a float this time.
Really?
Yes, sort of a float. We've got a truck that's going to be decorated with flags and banners, and we're going to be handing out M&Ms.
And the M&Ms
Because
because?
we're military moms. We have M&Ms every meeting.
I brought them just for that.
And we love chocolate.
And we love chocolate.
That is the American way.
All American moms.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly,
Yes.
exactly.
But we have a few more moms that are going to be with us this time, and we're going to be
Excellent.
handing out flyers and telling them a little bit about our group, and hoping to reach someone else out there who may be looking for. Our church is Saunders Creek.
Saunders Creek.
Saunders Creek,
Okay.
and so the website is saunderscreek.org.
Okay.
And
And so if somebody wants to contact you, they can,
if they go on the website, you click on Military Moms.
okay,
and
so
then-
there's an attachment right to
Yep.
their website.
Yep, it's right on
Excellent.
the front page.
Okay.
And then you can click on that and email me from there.
Excellent, excellent.
Yep, and I'd
Very
be
good.
happy to,
Okay.
you know, call anyone or email them back and fill them in on our meetings, and we try to meet once a month.
Well, earlier I made some peanut brittle that I'm going to be shipping,
Okay.
and we're going to go to the your military moms meeting. We're going to meet with some of the other ladies, and they're going to show me, and we're going to talk about packaging
Sure.
this, and then I'm going to be going to the post office to mail it.
Okay.
But before we do that, I was very privileged and honored to go up to Madison and see some of the young men and women leave from Madison for Iraq. And I want to show a little bit of the videotape of that. So.
North Company, on my command, fall out, say goodbye to your family. Polheber!
I'm here at Delane Johnson's house, and I'm really thrilled to be here with all of you today. I want to thank you for having me. I don't have a family member that is overseas in Iraq or Afghanistan, so I can't even imagine what you ladies go through with having a member over there. I work with Teresa at the library. She's a friend and she's a co-worker, and she has 2 sons in Iraq right now, and she has inspired me to do this show because having 2 sons over there, I watch her every day, and she just has such faith that I can't even fathom how she goes through this. So when I learned about the Military Moms, which is a group of ladies who have started in the Janesville area, to my right is Julie Polheber. Thank you for helping me with that. I even had it written down and still couldn't do it. So,
okay.
And to my left is Mary Pierce, and then Delane Johnson, who is letting us use her lovely home, and Kathy Sager. Thank you for letting me be here. I really do appreciate, this opportunity to come into your home. And you have meetings when?
We have them monthly, usually on Saturday mornings, but we've been doing weeknights the last couple months just to work out with people's schedules.
How many do you have in your group?
We have roughly 12 to 15. Since we were in the newspaper recently and we were in the Memorial Day parade, we've actually had a lot more people interested. And so we're expecting probably 5 to 8, maybe even 10 new moms tonight.
That's great. That's great.
Yes, it is.
So what do you talk about when you have these meetings?
We start off with each mom gets a turn to tell where her child is, her son or her daughter, and where they are located, any particular needs that they're having. We take prayer requests. We close each session in prayer. We pray for each of our children. We pray for each other. We pray for our president and the military staff who make decisions for our children.
And you have a son in what service?
He's in the Marines and he's in Afghanistan.
He's in Afghanistan. How long has he been there?
He's been there since March.
Okay. And you have a son?
Yes,
What is he in?
he's in the Army, and he is currently in Baghdad.
He's in Baghdad.
He's been there since March of this year.
Delane, how about you?
Okay, my son is in the States right now. He's out in Washington, D.C., and he's been there since February.
Okay. And he is in?
He's in the Marines.
In the Marines, okay.
Yeah.
Kathy?
I have a daughter in the Army, and she is currently in Babylon, which is in Iraq.
Oh my.
She's been there since February.
Where is Babylon in conjunction with
In
Baghdad?
It's kind of south of Baghdad, a little west.
Okay. All right. What kind of things do you send over to your kids?
Cameras.
Cameras.
Good plays. Chocolate.
So now that's a really good
Even if it melts.
point. Even if it melts,
Even if it melts. If it's crumbs of cookies, they still love it.
they still love it. You don't care. Well, earlier in the program, I made some peanut brittle to send over to some, because I thought, it's not going to melt. So I'm going to package this up, and I want the people at home to see some of the things that you can do to package stuff up. I've been using some of these really inexpensive, and I'm sure you have too. We probably should have bought stock in this company. Because you're never going to get this back.
Right.
And you don't care. So this is great because, it's got some sort of support, whereas, a Ziploc bag is good. It's, just use some old, whatever something came in, it doesn't matter. So what are you packaging it with? You're sending other things other than food, right?
They need white socks.
I heard that, white socks.
A lot of them don't have laundry facilities, so they'll wear the socks for several days until they're in pretty bad shape, and then they just throw them out. So they constantly need new white socks.
My son actually requested them too. He had gotten bit by a spider and his foot was on his foot, and so he said that those socks really came in handy, that he could put on a clean pair with his foot being injured.
Right.
And that makes nice packing too.
Absolutely. So you can just kind of stuff that in
exactly what I
around.
do.
Oh, good idea. Well, Teresa, she told me that she packs with popcorn, not the unpopped. She pops the most inexpensive type of microwave that she can, and and then pours that in there around, and it helps with like packing material, like the styrofoam stuff. You can also, when you're making cookies, put something. You can put popcorn around that too because it will help cushion it. It also helps with moisture if it's humid. She also does bread. I've heard bread for years. Even in World War II, Vietnam, they would package stuff up in bread, and they didn't care what it looked like. I spoke with a young man who had just gotten back from Afghanistan at the recruiter's office, and he was over there. I said, well, what did your mom send you? And he says, she sent me some homemade cookies, and they were kind of crumbly, but everybody ate them. Everybody shared them. It's something from home. It is. It's something from home.
I agree. My son actually called and asked the last time we talked to him if I would send him these cookies that he always ate growing up, and I told him they're not going to last. They're going to be hard. He goes, I'm eating MREs. It'll be just fine, Mom.
They don't care.
So he didn't care, so I made them and mailed them.
Well, I have some stuff here that's store bought items too. That people could send. Like rice crackers and Pop-Tart. Just stuff that they can eat on the go. I also heard trail mix was a big thing. So
Beef jerky.
Beef jerky. That was another one. Yeah, something that they like.
Beef jerky. The peanut butter, the little peanut butter and cheese crackers.
Oh, yep. I'll have a stash of those. I keep those at home.
Cans of nuts.
Cans of nuts.
Gatorade.
Powdered, yes. You don't want to send a huge thing. This is just way too much because the shipping cost, is quite high. And this would just cost, 10 times what it's worth. And get the powdered Gatorade to send because they have the water to mix it with. So, what if somebody wants to help out by either donating money for postage, or if they want to they want to send something to somebody? Can they?
Well, I've seen on the internet, there's a couple of websites. One that I can recall right now is called Defend America. And there were a number of links. There was a Lutheran high school that had a big promotion going. The American Red Cross is listed. There's just a whole list of links, and you can click on it and find out what it is that you're looking for and what area you would.
I spoke to a lady yesterday. She goes, "Oh, I'll give you money for postage." It's like, so there's a need out there. People feel like they want to do something but don't know how to do it.
I think too, a good idea would be go to your church and ask your minister or someone who has a child over there. Tell them that you would like to send a package, and ask them what they need. Buy those items. More than likely, that mom is going to be very happy to give you the address for her child.
Absolutely. Is there any kind of a message that you would like the public to know about sending items? When I leave here, I'm actually going to package this up, and I'm going to go to the post office and talk with them. So that's going to be my next stop from here. So, is there anything that you need to think about when you're sending stuff? What are some of the things you can't send?
I've heard that you can't send religious items, any type of pornography, anything like that. My sister wanted to send a little package of aspirin, and I told her I didn't think that you could do that. I'm really not for sure.
That's to do with the military. There was no pornography. Some countries you can't send tobacco.
Correct.
Alcohol. Alcohol. Some of the other things, even like a swimsuit issue, in some countries you're not allowed to send.
I would say you can send batteries, but there's certain kinds that you can't. You can send AA batteries. I know when I did send a box, the post office really questioned what type of batteries and what they were in. So I'm not sure which kinds you can't, but that's something that post
Because you-
office could let you know too.
You have to declare a custom sheet, you have to fill
Fill out
everything out,
everything that's
and
in
we're
the
gonna
box.
cover that when I go to the post office, so that's something you need to think about when you're packaging that stuff up.
And it's really not complicated.
No.
I keep it real simple, snacks,
Yeah.
toiletries.
Right.
You don't break it
A
down.
lot of toiletries, they would
Mhm.
Yes.
love to have toilet paper and deodorant and toothpaste and chapstick,
Like the baby wipes,
baby wipes, oh yeah, just
Sunblock.
sunblock.
Hand
sunblock,
sanitizer.
Yes.
hand sanitizers.
My
Okay.
son said that they're in sandstorms all the time.
Mhm.
His nose bleeds a lot from all the
Oh.
sand. So we sent him saline drops, or, that way you can just kind of keep it lubricated. It's really dry.
Oh, man.
Mm.
There's so many things we take for granted day by day, walking over and turning the water faucet on.
Right.
Going and grabbing our tissue or just anything, indoor plumbing.
Yeah, it's like a lot of them don't have access to showers for weeks at a time.
Weeks at a time, it makes me feel very selfish, thinking about these young people over there that are so courageous. They just, my heart goes out to every one of them. I can't express in words. I'm at a loss for words at times how it makes me feel. And doing this program helps me, with putting information out, and it helps me to, it makes me feel like I'm doing something, I guess.
And we appreciate that. We appreciate that very much.
Thank you. I want to take this time, I just want to take a minute, I want to thank you all so much for coming and taking extra time and spending with me today, taking me into your house and invading your meeting in a little while. I feel like you've loaned your children out to the world right now, and I really pray that they all come back very safely. Thank you so much. And we're going to be going off to the post office next. I'm here at the Milton Post Office with Postmaster Ginni Shull, and thank you for joining me today.
Thank you for asking.
I've been sending packages overseas to some of the servicemen, and I need to know the correct way to send something with an APO address, and some of the rules that have come down,
Okay.
they've changed a lot, so what can you tell me about sending a package?
Okay, first thing you want to do is find a proper container that's going to be able to hold your item. When you're doing that, you want to make sure it has nothing like bleach, alcohol, aerosol, flammable, ORD, anything that would contain, or the box would appear to contain hazardous material.
Okay, so you wouldn't want to go to the grocery store and get a box that was used for shipping bleach or, see, I would have never thought of that. A lot of people would just go to the grocery store and ask for a box, that they could use for packing something, and
Or the liquor store always has nice boxes.
oh, because you can't send alcohol to APO addresses, which APO is military.
Mm-hmm. Or that's for anything that you mail to the post office, you cannot have those on there. And when you're doing that, if you have to use one of those boxes, you need to remove that, or black it out, or tape over it, so it's not readable.
Okay.
Because we're very careful of any hazardous material. Even when you come to the window, my clerks are going to ask you, is this package liquid, fragile, perishable, or potentially hazardous material? Also, when you're mailing a package, take a minute, put your address and where you're shipping it to inside the box, just in
Okay.
case your label gets torn off, or wet or smudged. This way, if it's open, they can tell where it's supposed to be
Well, I
going.
can say I've been guilty of not doing that.
Yeah,
in the
well, I don't
past.
think we think about that, because
Yeah.
we think we do it.
And write nice and clear.
Right, we recommend printing.
Right.
That usually shows up the best. And like I said, we have these boxes at the post office. We have two different custom forms. This one here is for a package under 4 pounds.
Mhm.
I had to list the items that I had in here and the value of it, who I'm sending, who sent it, and where it's coming from.
Okay.
This part we're going to keep here at the post office, just in case there was a bomb or something of hazardous material
So it
here.
matches up.
We could pull this
Oh.
off and say, this is the person that sent this.
Okay.
Another thing for security reasons.
Okay, so I have a box that I have ready to mail to a serviceman that is bigger than what you
Okay.
have, so.
That's the 4-pound box. We have a little bit larger form, and I see you've got that filled out.
Yes, got it
And glued
filled
on
out
there.
and
Yep.
taped on.
Basically, same information.
Mm-hmm.
From to, listing the contents, the weight, the value, and we do need your signature.
Mhm.
With this one, you get a copy of it. One copy stays here too. Also, we recommend, if you have something that's very fragile, we recommend that you double box it.
Okay,
Put it inside, well wrapped inside one box, and then put it in another box and cushion it around. It has a better chance of going there, because these boxes are going a long ways.
right,
And even if we mark fragile on there, sometimes when it's on the airlines, it's not postal people holding it,
right.
and it could get dropped or bumped or something.
Okay, once you have the box in your hand and it's an APO, it's going to a serviceman, and it's an APO address, where does it go from here? Because the US Post Office does not deliver in Iraq or Afghanistan or Korea, wherever it's going.
From here in Milton, we're gonna send it to Madison.
Mhm.
Madison's going to send it to either New York, California. There, it's picked up by the military and is shipped from that point on.
Okay, what kind of time frame are we looking at?
We don't have a definite time frame. Customers are saying it's taking about 2 weeks.
About 2 weeks.
Mhm.
So if we're looking towards the holidays, you know, when things get busier towards
Right.
Christmas, you're gonna wanna send your Christmas stuff when?
Probably November.
Before Thanksgiving.
Before Thanksgiving, you bet. Especially if you want to go parcel post.
Right,
And
which is the less expensive.
that's a less expensive way if you got something really big that you're sending.
Right,
We do not have overnight or express mail services to APO, so this is not something you'll fall
Right,
back on.
right.
If it's December 20th and you want to get something there, we're not going to be able to get it.
Still won't
before
get there till
that. No,
January,
no. You want to be careful of what you're mailing.
such as.
Well, in your food items, you know, anything with chocolate, anything that's meltable.
Right,
No pork or pork products.
really, why is that?
I don't know, I think it's something to do with the country themselves.
Oh, so different countries have different
Right,
customs.
Different customs.
Okay,
Nothing of pornography,
right, that's military.
sexually oriented material. Anything that does not go along with the belief of Islamics.
Mhm.
It means you can't even mail a Bible.
Right,
So those are questions, feel free to call the post office and we'll be happy to take your APO, look it up because there's different requirements for every APO, different size requirements. Or you can go online, www.usps.gov.
okay. Jenny, is there anything else that we need to consider not sending?
Well, other things are firearms,
Obvious stuff.
horror comics, and I don't know why, alcohol, or anything that they could produce alcohol with. Malt, yeast, any kind of distilled items,
Okay.
those cannot be sent. Plants, animals, those are pretty obvious.
Right.
I was noticing your box,
Yes?
and I'm very glad that you didn't wrap it in brown paper or take time to add string to it.
I actually knew that. They used to package stuff like that.
Years ago,
and-
yes, it had to be in brown paper
Right,
and
it had
lots
to
of
be,
string
and-
around it.
Not
But
anymore.
now because of our automated equipment, paper, string can get caught on that and just rip it apart. So you did a real nice job.
Well-
I like the strapping,
Well, I did that because the bottom had a seam and I didn't want stuff to fall out of the bottom of it.
that's one place that most people forget to look at.
Mm-hmm.
You know, everything else looks good. Things can pop out there. I noticed you do have a name.
Yes?
That's good, because if it did not have a name, if it said any soldier, sailor, marine, military person, we would not accept that.
Right. And why is that?
That started with the anthrax scare.
Okay. So now you have to have a specific name. And I
Right.
know there's a lot of people out there who would like to send something to a soldier and they could maybe check with their local church or
Yeah, they would probably have a list of people.
maybe,
Or if you know somebody that has someone in there, I know one of my customers the other day was saying that her son had a bunch of kids that never received anything at mail call. So she took time to bake some cookies and now they're gonna
Oh my
get something
gosh.
at mail call.
that's great.
Okay, are we ready to mail that?
I think we are.
Okay.
Let's go.
Let's step over the counter and see what the damage is.
Okay, Beth, here's my package. Ready to
Okay,
go.
great. Did you want any insurance on it?
I don't think so. I just have some food products in there today.
Okay. anything fragile, liquid, perishable, or potentially hazardous?
No.
It would be $9.20 to go parcel post or $10.65 priority.
Well, we're gonna go ahead and do priorities.
Okay, that will get to the East Coast faster, so speed
Right.
it up a little bit.
Wonderful.
Okay, and it's all taped real good, $10.65 then.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ginny, is there anything else that you can think of that we can help get information out there for the public?
Sure. We have a website, www.usps.gov, and there's click and ship, there's weights, anything you need to know, zip codes, you can get there. Or you can call our 1-800 number, which is 1-800-275-8777. You can call that number, they'll
Great.
take change of addresses, polls, answer your questions,
Great.
any help you need, they're more than happy to.
Great.
Or you can call us here at Milton.
Right. Ginny, thank you so very much
Thank you.
for giving us all sorts of
Oh,
information.
it's been fun.
Thank you, I appreciate it. Inspiration comes to us in many forms on a daily basis. What we choose to do with that inspiration makes us who we are. My profound gratitude cannot express my admiration towards these heroic young men and women. Thank you to today's military moms for sharing their stories and for sharing their children with us. Thank you to all the mothers and fathers who stand vigil, waiting for their heroes to come home.